G'day everyone, welcome to Cooking with Chef Frank again. Today, I'm going to share my secret recipe for my ever famous Mongolian lamb. So the ingredients I typically use, I add garlic, which is thinly sliced garlic. I add ginger, which is julienne ginger. Julienne is another word for like matchstick. Finely sliced or chopped hot chili. Okay, these are all sitting in a little bit of vegetable oil. It just makes it easier to scoop out and they don't dry out. The main ingredients I use for vegetables is always brown onion, red capsicum, mainly for the color, visual appeal, and gailan, which is another name for Chinese broccoli. What I've done here is I cut the base off. Okay, it's a little bit woody at the bottom. Where the rubber band is, I will cut there, and I would wash these and separate them because they need a little bit longer cooking time than the leaves themselves. Okay, it's very important that you wash them thoroughly. There could be a little insects or debris or any bit of dirt in there. Okay, now sauce wise, I always like to use a little bit of fish sauce for the seasoning, soy sauce also for that different level of seasoning and also for color. For richness, oyster sauce. And the main flavor, it comes from the hoisin sauce, which is nice and sweet. It's got a fruity flavor. The meat I'm using is mutton fillets with the onions and the capsicum. You don't want to be cutting them too thin. I've cut these about almost 2 centimeters wide, okay? The capsicum about a centimeter and a bit, okay? Okay, what we need to do is remove the silver. You would find the silver on pork fillet, mutton fillet, on beef tenderloin or beef fillet, okay? Or another name is also eye fillet. First thing I need to do is remove the silver. I'll lie it flat on the silver part, grab from the top, cut down, just like removing skin on fish. Done. That's the silver. And then go the other way. Okay, that's the wastage. That's the silver. Okay, change knife. You don't need a sashimi knife or anything. You just need a really sharp knife, okay? And the way we cut these is I always like to put them at an angle. Make sure your board is dry. So if it's dry, the meat will actually stick better. And then what you do, if the thumb is always at the heel of the knife and on the top is your index finger, okay? Start there, finish there. Always start there, finish there. Just like that. And use your fingers as a guide. There you go. Nice and thin. That's what you want. Same goes with chicken breast. I would normally cut the chicken breast lengthways in half. Imagine that's half a lengthways of chicken breast. I'll do exactly the same. Now normally chicken breast is, once you cook it, it dries out. But this technique just takes it to another level. It's like really juicy, really plump, and very tender. Okay everyone, so let's start doing the marinade for the meat, okay? Now, in here I have 1 kilo cleaned and thinly sliced mutton fillet. Just treat it as 1 kilo meat. This will give me, the yield will be enough for 2 wok, okay? So I'm going to be only using half of this for 1 wok at a time. And 1 wok will be enough for about between 4 and 6 people with rice. Okay, so for 1 kilo meat, or chicken or whatever, I use heap tablespoon of corn flour. That's 1, 2. So there you go. 2 heaped tablespoon of corn flour. This is bicarb soda. What this does is this tenderizes, okay? If you don't have bicarb, you can always use a little bit of pawpaw or a little bit of kiwi. The enzymes in that will break it down. But I find that if you put it in too much or too early, it turns into mush. It just breaks the meat down, makes it more tender. So for this, I'll use about, let's go half teaspoon, yeah? Half teaspoon of bicarb. And just a splash of soy. It's about, what, 3-4 tablespoons. And oil. How much? I'd say about 50 ml, okay? 50-60 ml. Now what you need to do is really mix this well. Okay, I'll tell you what each ingredient does. The corn flour, once it hits the heat, it creates a barrier outside of the meat, prevents the juices from escaping, okay? That's what makes the meat nice and juicy. So it acts like a barrier, like a film outside of the meat, okay? That's what you taste, that slipperiness. The bicarb itself does the tenderizing. And if you look at the techniques I'm going to show you, you'll be able to replicate this in no time. Okay, you need to actually feel it. Does it have enough corn flour? Yep, it has, okay? You can actually feel it in your hand, the corn flour, okay? That's it. Okay, just gonna go wash my hands and then we'll start cooking. See ya. All right, everyone, let's get started. I've turned on my wok. Don't rush, never put the oil too early, yeah? Sometimes you see people put the oil and then they wait, they see the smoke, they start cooking. It's wrong. Put the pan or the wok on, okay? I always like to use my fingers and I like to see a bit of smoke coming out. There's no oil, but I can still see some smoke, so it's heating up. This is the most crucial part, okay? You may get the flavor, you may get the texture and everything, but it's still not gonna be 100% great if it's not high heat, okay? So it's nice and hot now. I've got vegetable oil, bit of vegetable oil in there. I've got 1.5 onions in there. You wanna hear that sizzle? So you need to cook in order of hardness. So the onion and the stalks or the stems of the kailan goes in next. At this stage, I added my capsicum. There's 1 large red capsicum in there. This is when I add a splash of fish and a splash of soy sauce and a splash of water. You want steam. Done. I remove it into a bowl. Just give it a quick wipe. That's it. Otherwise the sauces are going to burn. Again, get it really hot. We're going to cook half of the meat. Oil. Wait for the oil to heat up a bit. Spread it around. Half of the meat goes in. Spread it around a bit. As you can see, it's not sticking because the pan is seasoned nicely. When we say seasoned, seasoning means getting it to the right temperature so it doesn't stick. It doesn't mean adding salt and pepper. And then flip, okay? You'll see something strange happening in a second. The meat's just gonna start expanding. As it heats up, it swells. And then when you add the sauces, it swells more. When the meat's about 70-80% cooked, you want to add your sauce, okay? Now, I like to add my garlic. Half, because I'm going to be cooking twice. Half ginger. Half chili. A little bit of fish. A little bit of soy. Oyster, probably about 3-4 tablespoons. Okay, a little bit of water because that's going to thicken now. The meat's got corn flour, and this is hoisin sauce. I recommend you buying Lee Kun Kee. Don't get other brands. Okay, this stuff is really, really good. Okay, and this is a larger bottle, about 397 grams. For half kilo of meat, I would use about half a jar, half to about 40% of a jar. Now I'm going to add water to this. So what I would do is add the water here. Give it a rinse. Add it back in there. This way when you eat it, the garlic is not mush, the ginger's not mush, everything has that perfect texture. Now because the meat's covered in liquid now, it's going to cook much faster, so don't worry, there's not going to be any raw bits in there, okay? The reason why you need to actually stir it, agitate it while doing this, because during the marination the meat sticks together, so you want to separate them. Okay, at this point, I would add my greens. All we want to do with this is just wilt them. Just give it a couple of turns. If you're scared to flip the wok, you can put a bit lid on top, a wok lid, a pot lid. But what I'm going to do is just gently, that's it. Just turn it over. The heat's going to wilt it. And you need to check for the thickness. It's too thick, so add more water. It's all about the sauce. The sauce consistency, which is the thickness, needs to be just perfect. You don't want it thick and gluggy, or you don't want it like water, you know? It's got to be just perfect. Okay, thickness is good. Give it a, as you can see, it's already wilted now. Now we add the rest of the veggies. Give it a nice mix. Let's see, done. Now we turn it off. Look at the thickness of the sauce. Okay, perfect. Turn it off, ready to serve. Okay, let's serve this thing. There you go, Mongolian lamb. Nice, a lot of liquid, okay. Good, goes really nice with jasmine rice. So the more sauce, the more merrier. I might have a little try of the meat actually. Unbelievably good. Enjoy and see you next week.